Man, the video game awards, Jeff Keighley over there. They done upset the player base, the whole demographic. They got all of them upset. And let's talk about it. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Addict here. Coming at you another video. Today we're going to be talking about the video game awards. I have been very vocal about the video game awards on this channel, and I think the majority of you know that. I'm always on the fact that, when it comes to the video game awards and when it comes to, situations like the reviews, Metacritic, stuff like that. The review system in general, I'm very vocal about because I don't want it to get to the point where it's like a Rotten Tomato where people don't necessarily trust it. They consider it as a joke. To me, that should be something that is taking on the highest liberty. We should be trying to improve it, be trying to make it as least corruptible as possible. And that's why I'm always on this stuff. And the Video Game Awards is no different. Gaming needs a social interactive place where we can all come together and celebrate all the games that came out this year. And I feel like it's hard to do that when it comes to gaming politics, because obviously some people are going to be upset with some other stuff. It's really interesting when you have to revolve that around ad revenue in general, making money, because obviously these events, they need to make money. And if they don't make money, it's pointless doing what they do. So there's a lot of scenarios that comes into this. And I think that is the biggest thing that Jeff Keighley always has to, contend with. We have the famous get off the stage, going up there, winning game of the year and being rushed off a stage. But, Kojima is up there for like 5 minutes talking about his game. And people see that. You can't hide that. People see that. So when it comes to stuff like this, every year, it's the same stuff. Criticism on the Video Game Awards. I will say last year, Jeff Keighley dramatically improved the Video Game Awards. I think we can all agree on that. Jeff Keighley did a really good job on balancing things, balancing ads, balancing people talking. He didn't rush people off. He did a good job. Was it perfect? No, because I do feel like even though the rhythm of the show, the pacing of the show is better in terms of doing the Video Game Awards, we still got to work on the voting, because I feel like there's a lot of aspects on the voting that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And this year, they are getting a lot of pushback. There was a huge thing with this future class thing, where they were like essentially being used as marketing. Now, you guys go look that up because I'm not entirely sure, but I saw a lot of people tweeting about that. You had, developers pulling their game completely off the system, completely like, yo, we not good with this. We feel like this should go to someone else. And then you had, the classic missteps when it comes to, is this a good nomination for this? There's a lot of aspect when it goes into like, what is an indie game? What is not an indie game? And I feel like indie, double A, single A, triple A, I don't like these terms, but they are used very regularly in the industry where it's kind of like you can't avoid them. You got to talk about it. So essentially people are like, what is an indie and how is the best indie debut? Because that's what the developer was upset with. How does that work out? Like, if you're a triple A publisher, how are you technically going to be in that? Because are you an indie if you're like Claire Obscure and you had huge backings from different companies? If you look at the actual game, I'll pop over here. Notice there's only four. There's only four. And the reason is because the fifth one withdrew his voting. And it's kind of crazy that they took that out in real time. Claire Obscure had a lot of money behind it. So it's just like, do you consider this an indie? Because technically, Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie. The Witcher 3 is an indie. It's hard to draw those lines on what's an indie, how much money's been backing it, because to me, an indie is a small team, maybe under like 20 people, that's passionate about a game that, to me, even if it is part of a bigger conglomerate such as like a Microsoft or stuff, I still consider stuff like Keeper, even though it's not your traditional indie. I feel like it's an indie style project. It's a very small project that a few people got really passionate about. Does that mean it's an indie? No. Keeper is definitely not an indie, but I would feel that in terms of the scale of the game, that's what I really look for more. The scale of the game, because you can't compare companies that are dramatically different in funding, but the actual teams aren't getting the funding that you think they would get. So there's a couple scenarios I want to go over. One of the scenarios is people are very, very, very upset with best score in music. Now, essentially, best score in music is for outstanding music, inclusive score, and original sound or licensed soundtrack. People think South of Midnight should have been on here, and I agree. I can't really completely comment because I didn't really play these two. I played a little bit of Ghost of Yota, but I didn't play none of Death Stranding 2, so I don't want to like comment on if a game should be here if I didn't play it. I have played these three games pretty extensively, and here's the thing when it comes to South of Midnight. As much as we want to say that these are kind of voted with computers, they're not. They're voted with humans, with passion, with not to mention the bias towards, a lot of these people don't have Xboxes, so clearly they're gonna be biased a little bit towards the platform because they're not playing their games as much. Is it on PC? Yes, but a lot of these people got PlayStations, so that's what you're seeing going into the future. And my thing is, I do think we need more, monitoring on like what developers these games, these people have played, because I think there's a huge misstep on, are these people playing the actual game that they're speaking out on? Did these people that played Hollow Knight, Silksong, Hades 2, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Ghost of Yotai, Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, did they even play South of Midnight? And it's probably not. I'm going to be honest with you. I played, beat, and reviewed South of Midnight. And it was a very, very average game to me. Wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a good game either. And I think the mindset of a lot of these people, I bet you they end up dropping it. I went through it because I wanted to give that game a fair shot. And even though there was a lot of aspects that I felt was lacking, there was a lot of good things about South of Midnight. But if people didn't play, they wouldn't have saw that. The music to South of Midnight was great. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of like blues and stuff like that, that's probably another issue. It's kind of hard for like certain people in other aspects that, listen to other type of music to vibe with music that they don't even care about. But where I've seen so many games, I myself can separate that. And I don't think a lot of these people care. I'm going to be honest with you. They went on there, they looked at this list, they said Hollow Knight, Silksong, Hades 2, Expedition, Ghost of Yotai, and they got that Death Stranding over here. And the only thing they thought of is I enjoyed all these games more than I enjoyed South of Midnight. Because these games, I know these three for a fact have great music soundtracks. I'm not entirely sure on these two. Like I said, I only played like an hour and a half of this game. But the thing is like what they're looking at is, out of the games that's here, what did I enjoy the most that had nominations for music? They're not thinking of games that, maybe they enjoyed, maybe they didn't enjoy, maybe they dropped it. Because, at the end of the day, it's going off of human emotions. Expedition 33, that's my game of the year, and I think it's going to sweep this year. And if I would have been voted for this, I probably would have nominated Expedition as well. And you got to think, these three games are so massive, the majority of these nominations probably that's probably what the majority of them was these three games. And these two probably had some enough just to get them in this. It comes to human emotion, unfortunately. And, I do think South of Midnight, it was unfortunate it didn't get on there. But at the same time, it's like this has been a stacked year. It's been in a completely stacked year. Game of the year, we've had other stacked years, but not quite like this year. And I think that's what people, separate a little bit. And it's complete bias. Like I said, there has been legitly media people. There's been influencers. There's been people in these groups that have actively spoke out on not messing with the Xbox brand. So how do you think their games in general is going to go with them, especially if it's not a huge success? If it's not massive. And I think that's the biggest issue is like, did these people play South of Midnight? Perhaps. We don't know. Did they beat South of Midnight? That's a different question because a lot of the the music that you would come across with South of Midnight would be in the game more. And South of Midnight's not even that long of a game. They probably put 30, 40, 50 hours in Hades 2, but they ain't play South of Midnight much, which is complete fraudery on their part. But it's like I said, man, when you're going off of emotion, unfortunately, things are not always what they seem out to be. You know, I know a lot of people was upset with some of the aspects to, you know, best performer, because if you look on here, Ben Stark, Expedition, Indiana Jones, Troy Becker, like, it is amazing and crazy how much Expedition has cleaned this house. And I think that's the biggest issue. There has never been another game to get this many awards, or nominations in the industry ever. So what you're seeing here is they're taking the majority of the slots. Is it justified? Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to like tell me that you're not Game of the Year without being nominated for the majority of the awards. Because to me, how are you gonna be Game of the Year if you're not potentially taking every award at Game of the Year? And that's just my opinion on the matter. You know, it's unfortunate though, because I do think South of Midnight put a lot of effort into the original soundtracks. You know, they put a lot of effort into music in general with sound effects. But at the end of the day, man, it's what I always say. You got to make sure the whole game is it. Because when it comes to especially the years like this, they're going to remember the games they enjoyed the most, even if other games have better soundtracks. So anyway, put in the comment section below what you guys feel about this. I'm very curious your guys' opinion. Look, Jeff Keighley has improved the Video Game Awards drastically. You know, shout out to him. I do think we need to do a little bit better on how the nominations, be more transparent. That's my thing. Be more transparent how things happen. You know, I want to, you know, see, there should be like a directory where I can see who's on the panel, or who's on the jury, who's the people nominating, and if they beat games. And I understand they don't want to like subjugate them to like online bullying, but it's just like, look, people are going to have their eyebrow raised, especially situations like this where, you know, South of Midnight definitely probably deserved to get in that. But at the end of the day, did these people play the game? We have no clue. But yeah, put in the comment section below. I'm very curious your guys' opinion. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It's always appreciated. You can always sub to the channel. We make weekly content on here. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Whoo! I am looking forward to the video game. I am. I look forward to who's going to win Game of the Year, and, you know, obviously the trailers in general, the announcements. That's what we're all there for. Let's be honest here.